Welcome back. Now, South Africa's economy has begun the year with its best fundamentals in more than a decade. Improved electricity supply, firm commodity prices, and easing interest rates have helped lift confidence. But with growth still expected to remain modest, the big question is whether this momentum can finally translate into sustained and accelerated expansion. Business Leadership SA CEO Busi Mavuso joins us now to unpack what's driving the optimism and what still needs to change. Busi, thanks so much for your time today. So a reason to smile when looking at all these fundamentals, but there's still work to be done, especially when it comes to shifting that upbeat sentiment, that upbeat optimism into growth, into faster growth at that.
Absolutely. So there is, I think, a lot of challenges that we still face as a country. But I really think we need to acknowledge and accept, Ndawling, that we have actually made critical progress in a whole lot of areas. And we really, from a business perspective, see 2026 as that year of consolidation, the year where we actually become deliberate about leaning into and zooming in on some of those key issues that will ensure that we attain a conducive environment within which business should operate. Because in attaining a conducive environment, then we actually are better positioned as a country and as an economy to can actually bring in the much needed foreign direct investment. Remember, we also start 2026 with still the upbeat, from having successfully hosted the G20 and the B20. A lot of interest has actually been generated by with those international visitors that actually came to South Africa. A lot of them would actually want to actually take some of the engagements that we had with them to their logical conclusion. But in us going ahead with as far as that is concerned, we therefore need to be clear about what are some of the big ticket items that we need to be focusing on this year. From a business perspective, Ndawling, we actually think that logistic infrastructure, we have started great work in as far as that is concerned. We need to make sure that we put more wins on the board in as far as that is concerned. You cannot have a country, which seeks to utilize exports as its macroeconomic strategy. We are trying to lead export growth. We're trying to grow our economy through exports. You therefore cannot have your transport logistics not functioning as they should. We have seen vast improvement from a Transnet perspective and the work that has been done. We saw the minister announcing the first 11 private operators, that were actually selected to operate on the 41 routes across 6 corridors. We therefore need to accelerate the work that needs to be done in as far as that is concerned, and hopefully start to see the first private train that is actually going to be running on our tracks somewhere in the second half of 2026. And we also think, Ndawling, that the issue of the criminal justice system, we saw what came out of the Madlanga Commission. We need to, as the report comes out this year, we need to be deliberate about what are some of the reforms that we're actually going to put in place. I think of key import for us as the business community are the reforms that are needed in the NPA, and obviously then the issue of municipalities. This is a big year in as far as local government is concerned. We're going to be going to local government elections. Joburg is of huge concern to the business community. This is a metro that houses 70% of the head offices in this country. This is the metro that has 80 billion rands of budget, and yet they only spend 10% of that on capex. This is a metro that actually contributes to 16% of the GDP. As you and I are speaking right now, Joburg is sitting without water. Sentin, the epicenter of the economic hub of this country, is sitting without water. Ndawling, we have to look at that, and we definitely have to deal with it, and we actually have to address it.
Yeah, the local elections want to really watch this year as we, there's that fight for those key metros in the country. I want us to look at what's playing out, I guess, when it comes to developments with the US, Busi, in terms of what's playing out with AGOA as well, and where SA stands. What's businesses' stance in regards to SA-US relations?
Those engagements, I think, continue to be quite strained. I think that the articulation, number one, after we hosted a very successful G20 summit last year, of President Trump saying that South Africa is not welcome to attend any of the G20 engagements in the US this year, just gives you a sense. And I think it shouts loud in terms of what DC thinks of Pretoria, you know, or what the United States think of South Africa. I think we also saw a headline yesterday, or was it today, in Tauleng, where the U.S. Embassy in South Africa is actually condemning the drills. I think it is the military drills that we actually have conducted with Iran, you know, as a country. Naval drills, I think, that we've conducted with. So you can see that the strain continues. As we stand today, we still don't have an agreement, a trade agreement between the US and South Africa, even after the DTIC minister and the presidency being hard at work to actually try and come up with that agreement. So we don't need to be naive and delusional about where that relationship sits. And I really think that instead of focusing and putting all our eggs in one basket to look at how those engagements are going to pan out, maybe let's already continue to have as many engagements as possible with all the other countries all over the world. Let's actually seek to create and open up doors, you know, relationships, trade relationships with other countries all over the world. You know, the US can no longer be the answer, can no longer be the solution, and can no longer be the plan, you know, for South Africa. We slept on the job by leaving, you know, the US dominance on the country and the support that we've been receiving from the Americans for so long. You know, this is something that we should have addressed for quite some time. AGOA has been nullified by the tariffs, by the way. You know, I think there are one or two things that have been probably maybe critical minerals and so forth that have not been impacted by the tariffs. But whatever happens with AGOA, as long as you have the 30% tariffs, I think is really neither here nor there. So I think looking at what those engagements are actually going to give as a solution is really a useless exercise.
All right, let's leave it there, Busi. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your insights with us today. That was Busi Mavuso, CEO of Business Leadership South Africa.